Hi everyone, this is Amanda, Pineal Painting, Sarasota, Florida. So I'm here doing a continuation video from yesterday regarding the thermofoil removal and the glue residue that's left behind. And in my video yesterday, I removed thermofoil from one of my doors, and then I showed you how I go about cleaning the doors and prepping them before I spray them or put any primer on them. And I recommended use denatured alcohol. Some people may not be able to get denatured alcohol in their area, so I'm thinking maybe if you try like a deglosser cleaner, and then lightly sand. I haven't actually tried that yet. I will give it a try and let you guys know in the future how it works out, if it really compares to the denature. I mean, I know that the denature is going to work the best. But if you can't get it, and I know we've had a lot of paint shortages lately, we have to do what we have to do. So this is another thing that we've had shortages on, is the primer. I usually use Extreme Bond primer. You can get this as a Sherwin-Williams product. This is what I really prefer. But when you can't get that, I had to go ahead and purchase a couple gallons of sticks. And this is really well. This works really well too. It's up there with the Extreme Bond primer, and I ordered that from Ace Hardware. They just went ahead and delivered it. So so yesterday I had them prepped and ready to go before primer, and then I wanted to go ahead. I was thinking about it. I said, you know what, I should prime some of these doors just to show everybody how well the primer sticks, even though you might not be able to get all of the glue residue off. So I used a mini roller. I just went ahead and rolled the primer on. I usually spray the primer on with an airless sprayer, but in this situation I wanted to show this as an example. So I went ahead and put a nice liberal coat of primer. This is the drawer face that had the permanent marker writing on it. So went ahead and went real liberal over it, and it doesn't matter even if it's a little bit textured. I mean, I used a fine nap for my roller, but sometimes it can leave a stipple. It doesn't matter. This primer here, either one of these sands, it sands so well. When you sand it down, it really sands well. So what I recommend is, I usually start out with like a fine sandpaper, like a 220 or something. I'll use an old sanding block. I just wrap the paper around the sanding block. It gives you some kind of structure, better, it's more ergonomic for your hands, and it gives you something to hold on to. And it helps you sand a more even surface. So I'll just go ahead and sand these down after the primer went ahead and dried. And this one was a little bit more coarse because the paint was a little bit thicker. I could have strained it out and thinned it out, but I really like the idea of having the primer go on a nice, heavy, even coat. You don't obviously want to leave so much paint on that you have so much buildup that it's just too much, but you don't want to go so thin. You want to have a nice, even, heavy coat of primer. So you can even, after you start out with the more coarse sandpaper, like a 220, I even will go down to an 800 and this is extremely fine, and I use this before I spray the finishes on. But I'm just gonna go ahead and want to show you guys with the primer on the door here. Let me switch back here to the 220 real fast. Knock some of these. I want to smooth the primer down pretty good, but I just want to show you as an example that just because you may leave a little bit of the glue residue on the door isn't going to cause you any troubles. The deglosser and the denature alcohol, either one, is going to knock the sheen and knock that off of that top layer off of the glue residue. So it's gonna, so that when you spray the primer on there, the primer's gonna bond pretty well to it. I mean, if it's on there and it's not coming off, and then you spray the primer on there, it's not coming off. Especially since you sanded, you cleaned it, you deglossed it. Okay, so I hit it with a finer. Now I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm just doing this as an example, so I'm gonna just wipe it off with a dry rag here, just to dust it a little bit. And then I want to show you, so I have a 5-in-1 tool here, and this is a painter's tool, typical tool. It's 5 tools in one, and we use this all the time for scraping, all kinds of things. So literally, as you can see, this primer's pretty good. This is with just, and I'm nicking this pretty good. You can even scrape it with the scrapey side. I mean, it's scuffing it. It's leaving some scuff marks, but it's not actually scratching. So that goes to show you how durable this stuff is. I mean, I could throw my tools down on top of it, and you know, it's not going to scratch it. So basically, once you get the primer on, your main focus is going to be smoothing it down and getting it really smooth. You don't want to wear gloves when you do that process. You want to feel it really well. If you still feel bumps, and sometimes I'll even take a, you know, one of these little razor blades or whatnot, and you know, if you feel something sticking up, something bumpy on your door face, you can go ahead and see, and I'm scraping it with a razor blade and it's not coming off. But this will knock off any things that might have got stuck to the front of the door. And you can even, what I do is I use a razor blade when I prep the backs to get the little glue residue off from where the bumpers go on the doors back here. So when you prep the back side, you can use razor blades on them. And after you prime, you can use razor blades on these doors to knock off anything that might be sticking up anywhere. And make sure that you sand it really well. You know, you just want it to be really smooth. So I sand it after I, oh, a bug flew away. I sand it after I prime it, and then if you need to, you can do a very fine light sanding after you spray the second coat if you need to. But I recommend using a very fine sandpaper, like an 800 that you can even use this sandpaper to do wet sanding with it. So that I just wanted to show you how durable that they actually really are after you do that cleaning process that I do. And if you use a really good primer, like I'm always talking about, you're not going to have any problems with the primer sticking. And this is it's an extreme bonding primer, so it's specifically made for these types of hard, shiny surfaces, you know, so it's made for minimal sanding. And, you know, if we can get away from sanding anymore, it's really the best option, because it's just so unhealthy for us as painters to be breathing it in. So I'm a big fan of all the safety gear. I always wear a mask and everything else because it's just not worth it. And years of time, if you just keep inhaling all that stuff, it's just horrible for us, you know. Unfortunately, we love what we do and we like painting and, you know, it's like a beautification process, but at the same time, you know, it is kind of really bad for our health. The paint products have gotten a lot better nowadays. They have a lot, most paints are low VOC now, so that's low volatile organic compounds. And they try to, and there are, and Sherwin-Williams actually does have a natural line that is chemical free. I don't even really fully understand how they do that, but they do that. So I've used it. I've actually used that paint in a condo downtown Longboat Key one time. So yeah, it's actually really good paint. I loved it, but it was very expensive. So if you want to go that route, you can go that route, you know, completely lead free and all that. But yeah, so stick with the really good primer. Make sure and sand them really smooth, dust them, vacuum them. Obviously, when I spray them, you know, I get all the sides and everything. This is just as an example for you guys to see. And after all that banging and bashing and everything else, all I got is a little scuff mark right there. So that's just going to show you how durable it's going to be. So if you're doing this at home, hey, prep them, prime them, you'll be good to go. You'll have longevity with your cabinets. And I even have a customer that tells me I bang into this side here all the time with my walker, and I can't believe I haven't even damaged one spot. So I said, well, it's a really good product, and that's why I stand by it. And if I didn't have these products to stand by, then I honestly wouldn't do these projects, because the last thing I want is to do a bunch of projects. I'm gonna have all these headaches because it's not gonna last. So use the good products, use the good primers. You can even use a different paint other than Sherwin-Williams on your cabinets if you wanted to. I know that they've actually partnered with Lowe's, and you can purchase their paint through Lowe's now as well. But I would definitely say always make sure that you do not, don't get the lower costing primer. Get the good primer, spend a little bit of extra money. It's gonna make all the difference. All right, guys, hope this helps with the cabinet refinishing and the thermofoil removal. And I know this is something that, a lot of people are talking about and interested right now. So the more thermofoil cabinet removal jobs I get, I'm gonna try to make more videos. And I'd like to hopefully get one where there's some actual really bad damage and stuff underneath. I mean, not that I want a project that I have to work harder on, but I would like to be able to use it as an example to show you guys what I do. So look for that in the future, and I'm gonna try to make some more videos. I'm out in the penthouse right now. I'm trying to do some wood staining out there on the balconies. So look for some videos on that as well. And yeah, I hope everybody stays safe, stay healthy. Enjoy painting, living life, loving life. See you guys. Have fun. Happy painting.